Hey guys, it's Urban here and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I'm reviewing the Tier 6 American battleship, the New Mexico. This is my favorite battleship so far down the American battleship line, and well, the best battleship overall. The battleships that I have played are all the way to Tier 6 on the Japanese line and all the way to Tier 6 on the American line, but I just love the New Mexico more than the Fuso. For many reasons, I'll mention them throughout the stats of the ship. Not really sure about the other Tier 6 battleship, like the, what is it, the Bayern, the German, but I'm pretty sure it's not as good as the New Mexico. New Mexico might be the best Tier 6 battleship. So let's get straight into this review. So it has 53,200 hit points. Not much more compared to the New York, and it definitely has less hit points than it has the Fuso. But the armor, on the other hand, is very good. She's a very tough ship. But of course, she has to be tough because she's a battleship. Now, don't this thing, yes, the turrets are the most armored thing, and the conning tower, and the superstructure is all obviously the thinnest thing. But here you see everything is 25 millimeters thick. When it kind of does look like it, but when you get a bit deeper, here behind that 25 millimeter, you have 140 millimeter armor plating. So that is, well, that's all protecting the citadel, so if you go through that, you are very lucky. Well, not really lucky. I've done it with my New Mexico, but you have to get very close in order to penetrate New Mexico's citadels. As well as at the back, the after end armor belt, very strong as well. And just look at how deep this ship goes, all the way down here. You can actually see how the ship is actually made. That's nice. That's the armor. Right, so the torpedo protection damage reduction is very good. It's 40%, which is much better than on the Fuso. I'm not sure how much is on the Fuso, but I know it's better than on the Fuso. However, stock with the first hull, let me just mount that up. The ship looks very ugly, plus it has only 25% of torpedo damage reduction. Armor as well is, well, it's apparently better, but, well, it's not. It isn't. So, yeah, there's that. Yeah, the torpedo protection is very bad. Well, it's not bad, but it's not great. It's 25%. One thing that also is a bad thing on the stock New Mexico is the rudder shift time, which is at the maneuverability. It's 19.7 seconds. Yes, it can still turn at 640 meters like the upgraded one, but it only has 19. Well, it has a lot of time to shift the rudder, which is 19.7 seconds. The first thing I recommend you to upgrade into the New Mexico is to get the New Mexico B hull and get that extra maneuverability down to 14.1 seconds, and when you mount the third one, you get down to 13.5. So it's not much difference for the second to third one. It is the biggest difference for the first to second. So I do recommend you get the New Mexico B hull first. Second upgrade, I would probably recommend the propulsion system to get that a little bit of more speed up, which 18.5 knots is not very good, but after you upgrade, you get to acceptable 21 knots. It's not fast, but it's acceptable. Stock gun fire control system is 15.8 kilometers far, not bad. Upgrade to 17.3 main battery firing range. However, those stats do apply when you put on the artillery plottering room, which I have. And it completely fits the battleship. It's not too short. And it's not crazy long as if you compare to the Fuso, but the Fuso's guns are so inaccurate that firing at 21 kilometers range is pretty much pointless. Here, firing at 17.3 kilometers is still very good because, well, it actually hits stuff. So New Mexico is more accurate than the Fuso, even though statistically it says it isn't, but it actually is. So. And the reason why it is probably because it has guns in the 4 turrets, and each turret has 3 guns. Compared to the Fuso, it has 6 turrets, each one having 2 guns. So yeah, it's not the best combination. But this thing having that, so much turrets, well 4 of them, and so much guns in 1 turret is a good advantage. But if you get 1 turret knocked out, you lose 25% of your firepower, which is not good. It's actually very bad. But yeah, the firing, I mean displacement is 50% the front, 50% the back, which is, you know, not acceptable, because if you're comparing to, for example, the North Carolina, it has 66.7% of its firepower all at the front, so you don't have to worry about that very much. But here it's a bit of an issue, but you're still not the Fuso, which only has 40% of its firepower at the front, so that's a very bad. So the guns, it has 12 356 millimeter main battery guns. Now you get these caliber guns back at tier 5 on the New York, but the guns on New York are shorter, which means they're less accurate. Here you get longer guns and they are more accurate, and it does show in the gameplay because they are very accurate guns for a battleship gun, of course, not for a cruiser. It has 8 secondary armament, which are 8 of these 127mm, which act as secondary as well as anti-aircraft guns, and then it has 10 of these 127mm Mark 7 cannons, which only act as secondary and not as anti-aircraft. I mean, you can tell because it doesn't have anything there, so that's good. Well, we know about the firing range already. So the Aaa Defense. Stock Aaa Defense is absolutely horrible. That's one of the reasons why I recommend you go to the whole B. I mean, look, you mount the A one, and you only have 4 76mm for anti-aircraft defense, which is very bad. Mounting the B hull, it mounts, well, quite a lot more guns. You have 12 50 caliber machine guns as well as 8 127mm. It's not the best, but it's better. But when you get the C hull, you get a lot more guns. Look at that. You get 3 20mm cannons, which are only mounted on the first turret, which is at the back. Then you get 8 dual 20mm Orlikon Mark 20 cannons. You get 4 40mm Bofor cannons and 4 dual 40mm Bofor cannons, as well as 8 still the same 127mm secondary armament, which works as anti-aircraft, as I said before. The maneuverability, she's a very maneuverable battleship for a battleship. The turning circle radius is only 640 meters. That's down to because it's not a very long battleship, as well as it has a very good rudder shift time. And it's not a very fast battleship, so it doesn't have the speed to kind of slow its turning. So yeah, the turning radius is very good. So if you want to dive some torpedoes, she's very good at doing that for a battleship, of course. Now the concealment, she's also quite sneaky. 13.8 kilometer detectability range by the sea and 11.3 detectability range by the air. Compared to the Fuso, very bad Fuso, 18.9 kilometers. That is not very good, is it? No, it's very bad. So yeah, New Mexico, great ship. My favorite ship, as I said before. I think it's time for me. Well, let's just talk about one more thing first. I have put on this thing a magazine modification. 17% the risk of your ship's magazine detonation. I'll put that up. I don't know if it actually does have any effect, but I never was detonated in New Mexico, so yeah. Well, I never was detonated in any ship far from the Karlsruhe, so let's just forget about that. And I also have the artillery throttling modification, which increases the main battery firing range 16%, even though here it says 10%. World Warships, you're so silly. Here, well, probably the damage control system. That's what I would probably go for. Yeah, the damage control system is definitely the one. And here, steering gear maybe? To even more reduce the rudder shift time with even more maneuverable. The propulsion, 50% time for reaching full power when accelerating forward. That's very, very good. If you want to accelerate fast, that's very good for you. But I would go for the steering modification more than that. Damage control system, 15% of flooding recovery time, and for extinguishing. Well, American battleships are already very good at damage control parties, but you know, putting that will be even better. So, yeah. Right, now let's finally get into some gameplay where I do reasonable amount of damage for me, and well, averagely it is a pretty good amount of damage. And just to show you how battleships are supposed to work. They're supposed to destroy cruisers. Well, it's easy to destroy them because they're made out of citadels. So yeah, let's get into some gameplay. Right, here we are in some gameplay. Now, one thing that I have forgot to tell you about is the scout plane, which does give you a pop-down view from the bird's perspective, which people say it makes you aim better. Well, it's not. I'm not very good at that, but yeah, that's what people say. It is kind of easier because it's kind of easier to determine when the ship is turning and which course is going and at what speed. So yeah, and that plane also gives you the range of your firing guns up to 20 kilometers, which is very good. Right, here we are in New Mexico. One thing that I also like about New Mexico is that it's a very beautiful ship. Now that Budyoni, look at how accurate those guns are, and that Budyoni is going to regret his life decisions. 24,465 damage to a tier 6 cruiser. There you go. It's as simple as that. I don't understand why some people can't play battleships. Oh, they're so inaccurate. Well, don't play Japanese ones then. And, well, to be honest, the New York is also inaccurate, so you gotta be prepared for that. But the New Mexico, ooh, very accurate. Statistically, she's not accurate, but trust me, she is. Wow, so 2 of them hit, and they did 6,000 damage to him. Not bad at all. Still steaming at, well, I wasn't steaming at full steam ahead. I stopped a little bit to get some shots into that fuso. Now I'm steaming at full speed ahead again. Not the fastest of the ship, only 21 kilometers, but hey, at least it's a good looking ship compared to the Japanese counterparts, which look absolutely shit. Apart from the Yamato, which does look acceptable. But everything else is a bit ugly. Americans, well, they like making their ships look beautiful, don't they? Because that's what they're good at. Japanese, they don't think that in World War II they ever think of something that's beautiful, really. Right, 5,500 damage to the Fuso. Hit him with more shells, but did less damage. That's a bit of a disappointment. But hey, let's ignore that and let's move on. Right, there is a Scharnhorst, the only tier 7 battleship on the enemy team, which didn't really do that well, if I'm honest. Well, to be fair, it's not really a battleship, it's a battle cruiser. It only has 11-inch guns. But yeah. We'll see how that actually works. Fire at... I like how the easier targets are the ones that I do the less damage on. Isn't it? That's very peculiar. Right, so... that was a bit of a... well... The enemy cruiser has awakened. However, I am going to shut him down by firing this salvo of AP right into his face. And the Russian cruiser is soon going to be history. There we go. He does have me on fire, which is... I'm not gonna say lucky, it's quite typical for cruisers. There we go, the destroyer is laying smoke screen, so... I was hoping that I will be unspotted, but... that doesn't happen. Now, I find... oh, actually it does happen, but I find another stupid cruiser, which... well, he just sits down in the water. He doesn't move, he doesn't do anything. He's just sitting in the water, and that makes it a very easy target for my battleship. And yeah, that wasn't really nice. 25,200 damage. He lost about 95% of his hit points, which is not very nice for him. He's very, very, very dead now. And I bet he is regretting his life decisions by now. Right, Nuremberg is down, but he did manage to put 2 shots into me, 2,400 damage. Actually a bit more than that, but... now we are attacking the Arizona. Now Arizona is a very, very tough ship. And even for my battleship standards, and I thought I aimed that pretty good, but as it's going to be turned out, I aimed it a bit too too slow, and none of the shots connect, which is very not gratifying. But so far 69,000 damage, which is not bad, decent result. They also have a Graf Spee on the enemy team, right next to that Arizona. Graf Spee having about a third of his health left. And if I'm not very much mistaken, Graf Spee is a battle cruiser. It was a... well, actually it is a cruiser, it's not a battle cruiser. One of the Deutschland class cruisers, which French did find kind of a threat to them. And look at the armor on the Arizona, wow! Bounced every single one of my shots, which is, I gotta say, very, very good for him. Now this is the when I'm gonna lose most of my, well, I'm not gonna lose most of my health, but the majority of the health that I'm gonna lose this game is going to be lost at this moment when the Graf Spee is going to come out, and the Arizona will have nothing else to shoot at, since those guys on the other side are going to pretty much die. So yeah, Arizona putting that salvo in. Let's hope I do some damage now. He gets unspotted, and I do hit him now. My damage counter gives me 73,717 damage, which is about 4,000 damage done to him. I'll accept it, it's not a bad amount of damage, but it's not great. The enemy Graf Spee turns out into the open, and well, gotta say, these shots were not the most accurate in the world. New Mexico does fail sometimes as well, but hey, whatever. Can't really do anything about it, can you? Well, only one of them hit him, and that was enough to give him a citadel penetration and 10,500 damage. Yay. It's just so easy, isn't it? Cruisers, the easiest thing to penetrate in World of Warships. Because they have enough armor to let your shell stay in there without the over penetrations. Yes, they do happen, but not as often as on the destroyers, which pretty much happen all the time. There's no way you're going to destroy a destroyer with a full salvo unless all of them hit him. They do substantial amount of damage to him, which doesn't happen often, but if it does, it is nice. 5,602 the enemy Arizona. Arizona hits me into the superstructure and does minimal damage of over penetrating, doing 1030 damage. That's not very good for him. But the biggest concern for me right now is that Crush Bear. But I'm not going to turn against him. I'm going to keep my armor forward towards the Arizona because he has the bigger guns. But wow! He just took a lot of damage. I mean, he took a lot of health from me, and he destroyed one of my main turrets as well. You lucky German. That was, well, 2 hits. There were, both of them didn't do much interesting to that cruiser, but hey, what can I say? Can't really do anything, but he's still firing AP. That was an over-penetrating shot. Now the Crush Spear does have 11-inch guns, which are quite big guns for a cruiser. Right. Now this salvo is finally going to be aimed properly, and the shells will look quite accurate as well. To shut his mouth and do 7,500 damage. Nice! That's 100,000 damage. Not bad at all. Get my repairs up, repair the ship a little bit, and yeah, all we have to do now is wait for the Arizona to pop up. Let's just speed up the time here a little bit. Well, not the time, but the speed. And there it is, Arizona. Now, one thing that I did forgot to mention is that the turrets turn around in 45 seconds. Well, not turn around, but they do 180-degree turn time in 180 seconds. So that was my review of the New Mexico class battleship. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video, please give it a like. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. And I'll see you next time.